Back in 2016, we got the first Deadpool movie. It was great all around, and now, 2 years later, it's 2018, and we finally have a sequel. Is it any good? Let's find out. So I'll start by saying that Deadpool 2 is a good movie. When looking at a sequel, you always have to compare it to the original, and in that sense, it's not as good as the original, but it's still quite a good movie. I just feel like the original overall was a bit more cohesive and just worked a tiny bit better, but in saying that, the second movie is still great. If you enjoy the first Deadpool movie, then there's nothing to worry about here. It's more or less of the same stuff, just with slight tweaks here and there. So overall, the acting in the film is great, especially Ryan Reynolds, who does amazing justice to the role of Deadpool, like he did in the first film. And the biggest new addition to this film is Cable, played by Josh Brolin, who also just played Thanos in Infinity War. He also does an excellent job with what he's given. Besides that, so in terms of the plot of the film, it's a bit deeper of a story than the first one. The first one was more of that shallow, my girlfriend got stolen, let's go rescue her kind of situation. This one's got a bit more depth to it, and definitely for, I guess, both sides of the story, because you kind of have like Deadpool side of the story and you have Cable side. And it does bring a good balance to it. But the only issue I have with it is it feels like it's fighting the comedy within the movie. Essentially what you kind of get is this two-toned movie where one half of it has this pretty reasonable, like serious-ish, like it's lightly humored, but still a much darker storyline, which is constantly against that typical Deadpool satirical humor. And like it fights at times. Overall, it, like as a whole, it works. But it could be a bit smoother, could gel a bit nicely if it wanted to. Besides that, the only other major gripe I had with this movie was maybe the CGI. Could have maybe upped the budget a tiny bit for it. Like obviously, like all the characters-ish look good. It's mainly when you have a CGI fight or like a CGI action sequence where you really start to notice the shortcomings. Put an extra bit of budget money into that would have worked a bit better. In saying that though, overall the more close-up hand-to-hand action sequences with like the gunfights and stuff are a lot better this time around. Mainly because they have a different director, the guy who worked on John Wick and Atomic Blonde. So that really does work to their advantage to make a better story come out of it. Besides Cable, the film does introduce more new characters, but most of them don't matter. They're really just there to, I guess, take up a bit of screen time, which is interesting considering the film is also very short, relatively short. I think it's under 2 hours, about 1:50. And the amazing thing about that is it feels almost the opposite of Infinity War, where Infinity War was, I think, like 2 hours 30, and when you finish it, you're like, wow, that did not feel like 2 hours 30. This was like 1:50, and it felt like, yeah, that was like a 2 hour 20 movie or something. I don't know if that's an advantage or not, but I guess it tells a complete story within its time frame that feels bigger than it is. In saying that though, I do wish they had maybe used an extra 10 minutes to flesh out that story a bit better, just make it a bit more cohesive overall. But regardless, the movie works, action's great, humor's great, and overall I'd give it an 8 out of 10. So yeah, it's a good movie, very fun, very enjoyable. Go to the cinemas and watch it. It's definitely a good use of 2 hours of your life, and it's a good option if you don't want to see Infinity War for the 5th time in a row. But yeah, so that's it for this one. Stay tuned, probably sometime next week. Hopefully I'll get a Han Solo review out. I am kind of excited about that, looks promising. But yeah, stay tuned for that, subscribe for that so you know when that's up, and I'll see you next time. Bye.